They're young, they're millionaires, and they have lots of information that they're giving out for free. But is it accurate?
So how much money do you make in a day?
It's like 10, 11,000 per day, every single day.
$10,000 to $11,000 per day is what this YouTuber Sebastian Ghiorghiu claims he is making. Now we're going to come back to that claim, that $10,000 a day claim, and just reveal how it's so horribly false. But first, I want to peel back the idea of the side hustle community. Now, the finance and money side of YouTube is starting to get a little out of control. They're doing interesting math. The oldest person that are on their podcast are 25, 26, maybe 27 years old. There's no real reference to history. And the whole idea around these channels is that NFTs and crypto runs the world, and this is your last chance to be wealthy. I mean, quite literally, Sebastian has said, this is your last chance to be wealthy. You have to get it done in the next X amount of years, which historically is just never true. But I'm not going to sit here and act like they don't drop valuable information every now and then. But the one biggest thing that I've noticed that this side hustle community perpetuates is this idea of no skill jobs. 6 passive work from home side hustles that require no skill. And no skill make you $700 a day. Easiest side hustle to start 2023, no skill. 7.5 passive income ideas to easily make $500 a day. Now, I'm no expert, but I can kind of confidently say I've never met anyone that makes $15,000 a month easily. The truth is that money is the exchange of value. Now, value is derived usually from the execution of a service or in the exchange of a product. And the products that get 5-star reviews, the services that get 5-star reviews, are the ones that are created by skilled craftsmen. People that have a skill. They know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about, and they're producing that. So remember what I said about, we'll come back to that $10,000 a day claim. Well, this YouTuber, Anthony Vicino, points out this crazy way that these young YouTube millionaires are manipulating the numbers.
But first, numbers don't lie, but I can make them say whatever I want. Over the past 3 years, I've raised $25 million of capital from private investors to invest in commercial real estate. Often, when I sit down with a new or first-time investor, they're eager just to jump straight to the returns, which makes perfect sense. Like, of course, you want to get an idea of how much you could potentially make in a deal, but it's the absolute wrong place to start. And the reason is this: numbers don't lie, but I can make them say whatever I want. Here's a real quick example that I just found to prove the point. This video is titled "Making $10,888 every 24 hours, a day in the life of Sebastian Ghiorghiu."
Here we go. Everyone buckle up.
And this thing has been viewed 1.4 million times, which makes sense because this is a bold claim. For those that haven't done the math, $10,888 every 24 hours would be about $4 million a year in income. And for the record, that's an insane number. But you've only got to watch the first 5 or so minutes before Sebastian reveals the dubious accounting principle he's employing, which, interestingly enough, is the same exact accounting principle that bankrupted Enron back in the early 2000s. Now, for the youngsters out there who've never heard of the Enron scandal, this was one of the biggest companies in the world with hundreds of billions of dollars of assets. And they filed bankruptcy almost out of nowhere when it was revealed they'd been cooking the books for decades and they simply didn't have the money they said they did. Okay.
See, this is why the young dudes, like when I scroll on on the page and everyone they're hanging out with and everyone they're interviewing is their same age and is also making $1 million doing the same thing they do. I get a little suspicious. And it's not that they don't know the things that made them $1 million. After all, they're an expert in their own experience. But when there's not people that are a little bit older, aged, like my man here, that can call back to historical moments in history, not even that long ago, of when a company did the same thing that they're claiming to do and went bankrupt. That's the problem. You don't live outside of history. Sebastian Ghiorghiu claims you have to get rich quick, or else this is the last time to make good money. This is the last time to get rich. And it's like, but how? When? And he goes off and does a bunch of bro math. But the real question is, has that ever historically been true? Ever? In the history of America? In the history of the world? Has it ever been true that there was a last time to get rich at one point in history? Unless there was a government change and communism took over. And it isn't. So let's continue to see how he breaks down these numbers.
So back to Seb. Here's the questionable accounting tactic he's using. It's called mark to market. At one point in the video, he's sharing all his sources of income, including his ad agency, YouTube, stocks, crypto, which probably isn't doing so well anymore. And then finally, real estate. And it's that last one, the real estate, that's the problem. See, he's currently building his dream home for something like $1.1 million, and he got a cash offer from a potential buyer for $2.8 million. So what he's doing is saying, okay, if I were to sell the house right now, here's how much I would stand to make. And then he's adding that number into his total income and dividing it by how many days he's worked on the project. And this is exactly what Enron did. They would show theoretical future profits as actual current profits. So for instance,
theoretical future profits as current profits is a quick way to be, 1, disappointed, and 2, broke.
They'd sign a contract with another company that said that other company is going to pay them $100 million in 10 years from now. Then Enron would say, hey, look, we just made $100 million. And they'd count it towards their quarterly revenue and profit numbers to drive up the stock price. And you see,
that is horrible. If you've ever run a business where you do collect payments, you know that people default. So if you sign a client for $20,000 for a 6-month period, it's highly likely, and it's very possible, maybe not highly likely, that they might default on their payments. Now, you don't get that $20,000 of revenue. You stop providing the service, but you don't get all that money that you anticipated you would get. This is why you don't file your taxes in the middle of the year. This is exactly why the year closes and the IRS is like, but just tell me what you really made.
The problem with this, right? A lot can happen in 10 years. And so not only is that money not guaranteed, but it's not even useful because you don't have it. It's just numbers on a piece of paper. So listen, I truly don't think Sebastian is trying to grift anyone. He's just playing the YouTube game to get the clicks. I mean, I ain't gonna hate on that.
True.
But I share this as an example so you'll be better armed against one of the most common lies that young YouTube millionaires tell in an attempt to win your trust and impress you.
Just to recap, in case you missed it, he was building his house for 1.8, and a person offered to buy it off of him for 2.4. He was never planning on selling it in the first place. He wants to build it and live in it. But he took the profit of that, the difference between the 2.4 and the 1.8 million, and counted that as revenue or potential assets, and then divided that number by 365 days on top of the revenue from all his other businesses and stuff like that. Who knows if that's before or after expenses? It's probably before the expenses. So I think this culture of talking about these large, massive amounts of money that you can earn in very short periods of time with possibly no skill is creating a culture of discontentment in a younger generation. And it reminds me of the saying, you underestimate what you can do in 5 years and overestimate what you can do in 1 year. Meaning a lot of people will go, hey, I want to make $1 million this year. But and they don't hit it, and they get super disappointed. But they don't realize if they keep at the same pace, they might be able to make $100,000 more every year. And then you start getting closer to $1 million. It might take 10 years. But hey, you might get closer to $1 million for your business, right? And that's probably before expenses. A few years ago when I was running my own freelance business and I had big hopes and dreams, very unrealistic. And I didn't have a lot of people around me to tell me, these are unrealistic goals and expectations. Mainly because I also helped them drink the Kool-Aid with me. But I would be in these course programs and they're like, hey, you can launch and make $50,000 in a month. And I at one point, a handful of years ago, okay, don't give me a hard time, was like, hey, me and my wife got a little bit of debt, but I think after I launch this program, we're gonna do about $50K and pay it all off. That never happened. Well, what was I thinking? Looking back, what was I thinking, dude? But you know what it was? It was a mix of being around people like this, how to make $10,000 in every single day, and consuming content like this, which is, it's easy. This is your last chance to get rich. Yada, 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 yada. You got to do these things, no skill. You just got to start a Shopify store this month and you got to get something up and running. What happened to the novel idea that you're young and this is probably the time in your life you make the least amount of money, in your 20s? What about the novel idea that, maybe I'll have to go develop a skill before I start a business? What about that idea? What happened to the feeling of, let me lower my expectations? I think it's just access to access. I think we have online information that we can consume over and over and over again, and people are putting out tons of videos every single day with their face like and the $1,000 behind their head and super obnoxious thumbnails, right? Saying no skill required, easy, $500 a day. Here's the truth. You're going to have to learn a valuable skill. I personally recommend video editing or photography and videography. Video editing is a little bit cheaper. Most people have a computer. You can buy a software or get one for a monthly subscription for fairly cheap, or even a free one, and you can work from anywhere. It's going to take you time to learn that. Stack that on with a video camera and you can shoot people's videos. And you're going to start out making a couple $100. Then you're going to move to making $1,000. Then you're going to move to making a couple $1,000. And then you can go beyond that, or you're going to find the market around you isn't paying you more than a couple $1,000. Maybe that's because your skill level, but you have to go pick up a valuable skill. It can be in trades. It can be in whatever. Think about this. If you consume these types of videos, would you finish a video if it said the best side hustle or business that can make you $100,000 in 5 years? Would you do that? Or would you keep it pushing? Because I'm gonna be honest, that one's probably more realistic. You underestimate what you can do in 5 and overestimate what you can do in 1. You're not picking up a skill for the first time and making 6 figures. That person is very rare. But be patient. Pick something up, be consistent, and continue at it. Continue working at it. Consume and learn as much as you can about marketing, sales, and the skill you are learning. And go out there and make some money. But it's not going to be $10,000 a day and making the numbers say whatever you want. It's just not. All right. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe, give it a like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Peace.